welcome back. Apologies for the noise, and hope you're all doing well. Today's video, we're going to be following up the £1 server and giving it some juicy upgrades. I'd first like to thank all of you lot for watching the previous video. Hopefully, as you can see now, there's no more flickering, so thank you for the support with that. I think we've got that all under control now. Yeah, we also managed to fly past 1,000 subs all the way up to 2,000, so thank you for anyone who's done that as well. Today we're going to be taking a look at various upgrades for this things, and we're also going to be modifying the PCIe riser, as Kizzy Cat has sent over a GPU and told us to unbox it on here, so we can do that. I also ordered two 32 gig kits of RAM. I only intended on buying one, but eBay glitched out when I bought it and put the order in twice for some reason, and strangely enough we've actually ended up with, by the looks of it, a 32 gig kit and a 16 gig kit, so we're going to end up with a very strange amount of RAM, but oh well, we can deal with that. For the processors, I was originally looking at E5645s. They seemed quite cheap. However, the X5650s, we've got two of them for £14. These are 6 cores, 12 threads at 2.66 gigahertz, which is pretty solid, so we'll end up with 12 cores, 24 threads. You are supposed to buy copper heat sinks for this server if you run these, but I think we'll get away with it. And we're also going to need some new thermal paste for that, so I've picked up some MX4. I've actually used this tube quite a lot, but should be plenty left in it, and I've, as I say, I've bought another tube just in case. So, I guess let's unbox everything we have and take a look at it when it's all nice and neatly laid out. I've got all of the memory unboxed here. We've got quite a fair amount of sticks here. We've actually got 12 sticks plus our 2 that are already in there, so that makes 14. So we may have to pull out some of that if we want to get best performance. I've got our CPUs over here now. You can't see them because of the white balance. And I've also got a Cooler Master little thermal paste spreader. I've never really bothered using these, but I know, maybe there's a first for everything. And then Kitty Cat also said to unbox the GPU on the video, which means there's going to be something horrific in the box. But let's find out. I do see a GPU. Always a good start. And there's a note in there. You know what? Do I... Christ. That's not going on video. Right. Let's see what we've got. More crap. Weeb crap. Anyways, what we have here is a Radeon HD 5450, I think. 1 gigs of DDR3, HDMI, DVI and VGA. Awesome. So we're not actually going to be doing much with this graphics card. It's more of a better display output. However, we might be able to use it to do a tiny bit of transcoding. I'm not entirely sure what the capabilities of this card are, but back in the day, when I had a Core 2 rig and I was deciding between this and a GT610, I ended up going with a GT610 for the CUDA support. But you never know. Maybe we can do something with it. Maybe we can just dump it into a VM and give that a bit more capabilities. So now that we've actually got everything unboxed, I guess let's crack the lid on this thing and get installing hardware. We actually do have some modifications to do. As I said, that riser is only X8, and obviously our card here is an X16. And while we could mod the card, well, that's damaging a card, and if we break the card, well, we're not really going to be getting another one, are we? So, yeah, we'll risk the riser. We've got 2 of them, so if we break one of them, we're all good. Let's crack this thing open. I've changed my mind. We're going to benchmark this thing first. Now, we did have a slight power surge the other day, so I'm hoping no damage has been done to this, because it did knock out one of the other servers, and so I spent the past few days fixing clusters, which is always fun, and that's because my UPS has not taken the surge very well. It's now failing self-power on tests. However, it does still survive on battery, so I'll have to look into that at some point. I'm going to let this thing boot up. I'm then going to run Cinebench, Passmark, and probably the CPU Z benchmark. It's not amazing, but it will give us a rough indication of what we're currently dealing with. And I suppose it'll be an alright comparison against the new X5650s. We have put Passmark performance test downloaded. We are going to run that. And let's see what score we get. I've then got CPU Z, Cinebench Extreme and normal Cinebench R15. If you're curious why I don't run the newer ones, that's simply because the newer ones, they use instruction sets that, quite frankly, this thing isn't going to have at all, and so we're just going to get a horrible score, and it's kind of pointless at that point. Yes, it might be more real world in terms of performance statistics, but then again, synthetics aren't exactly real world performance, so we'll have to see. But again though, it'll give us a rough idea of what we're dealing with here. There we go, launch performance mark. We'll continue on our evaluation. And just run everything. Let's go. Okay, fair enough. I'll let it do its thing and then we'll get that done. Well, I was sort of hoping it wouldn't take too long to do the benchmarks, but I think we're going to be a lot more happier once we have that little Radeon installed, because this thing, it's not even 1 frame per second, it's 1 frame per a long time. That's not very good. I wonder if it has a timeout or if it's the there we go. And the results are in. So we actually lost to a Core 2 Duo at single thread performance. We got 217.7 for single thread, and for multi-thread we got 1972, which absolutely destroys a Core 2 Duo. But in fairness, we do have 2 CPUs. So now that that test is done, we will screenshot that, and then we can move on to the next test. Now I would do single core on this, but I think we're going to be here all weekend, and there's loads of benchmarks online, so I'll find a reference one for that. Let's just run multi-thread. It's actually going fairly quickly. 738. And Windows Defender has just scanned our PC, potentially completely ruining our score, but oh well, let's see, what did we compare to? So an FX 9590, I can live with that, and there's also an i7 4770S there as well, and we're just below an i5 6600K. See, strangely here, this one here is also E5620s, and that one got 741, however that score is very close, so we're in that general range. Not bad. We want a new file because this is a different one, and we can try this, but I think Cinebench Extreme might be a little bit too much for it. Oh, and it looks like we've actually benched probably in a different server. Dual E5620s. That one will be done by a Blade. So a Blade has got 192. Let's give it a go. And there is our Cinebench Extreme R15 scores. We got 194, which is actually 2 points more than the Blade that it was tested on. I actually do remember which Blade we tested this on, and it wasn't a Blade, it was an IBM X3550 Model 3, not the £15 server that we got. That was a different one. We'll save that score because, you know what, that's actually not too bad. And then we are going to shut down this thing because it's time to put our upgrades in. Awesome. Hopefully we don't get any flickering. We're also going to have to do some slight modifications to our riser card. So the way I normally go about doing this, because we only have an X8, is I'm going to put an X8 card in, maybe a RAID card, one that's preferably dead. And what we'll do is we'll use a soldering iron and just essentially melt the back little plastic piece here so that we can then slot a full width card in. Yes, half of the card will hang out and we will only get X8 bandwidth, but you know what? I think with a GPU that low end, that bandwidth isn't really going to matter in the long term. And besides, if we're only chucking it into a VM or using it for basic video acceleration, we should be fine. And I've also noticed this thing needs a good cleaning. Look at that dust. Ugh. Right. Check out the thermal paste on that. That thing has just come right up with it. Although these are quite nice and clean, to be fair. I wonder if these things were in there, like, you know, from when it came out of factory. Oh, why did I do that? I think we got very lucky there. I'm not going to do that again. We almost just ruined a socket, and if... Yeah, okay, that was lucky. Let's not do the same with this one. There we go. Right, I do believe these are from factory because they still have that little sticker on. And these actually have IBM FIUs on, so yeah, 2012. 5th of the 1st, 2012, or if that was American, it'd be the 1st of the 5th, 2012. So these things are 9 years old. Amazing. Now, luckily for us, we have nice X5650s. I was going to go with, what was it, X5690s or the 97s. They were just really high clock versions of these, but they were quite expensive as well. And for a £1 server, we don't exactly want to bust the bank with expensive hardware. So there's one CPU, and there's the other CPU. Let's just very gently put that one in. Awesome. Oh, and this is the annoying bit. God damn you, IBM, why'd you do that? They actually made it so that when you pull this lever down, it sort of grazes the side here, and it's really annoying to get it through. There we go. Right, so that's that one in. And now we're going to need the thermal paste. So I'm going to do the world's most horrible application on these. But you know what? It's a £1 server, so budget cuts. God, I put far too much on there. I'm not even going to use that spreader, I don't think. Just grab a bit of tissue. You're all going to absolutely love this thermal paste application. Take a look at that. This one actually hasn't come out too bad until you see it up close. This one is an abomination, but you know what? It'll do. All we've got to do next is get our actual heat sinks on. I have cleaned these, don't worry. Or mostly cleaned them. It'll do. And it doesn't actually say which way they go on, so we're going to have to sort of just guess. Judging off that big hole, I believe that's this side. Yep, and then we'll pull that down there, and that there is our heatsink in, nice and easy. No screwing to do or anything. Grab our next one. Push down a bit, and there we go. Awesome, so that's the hard and fun part out of the way. Let's do our memory. Now, I think I'm going to pull out all of these and we'll just use the new sticks. See, I wouldn't mind using it, but these are completely different sticks to those. So this one's an Elpida, for example. That one's a Samsung, and all of this stuff is Hynix. So we'll just use the Hynix stuff, I think. Be the best way to go about it. I'm going to grab the manual. Actually, we don't need a manual. It's on the back of the server. And get all of this memory installed. Okay, there is our memory installed. Take a look at that. I was thinking we'd need 2 extra sticks, but actually, I think this will run in triple channel because we have 6 sticks on each side. So we'll have to see. Anyway, next up, I need to go and grab the soldering iron and begin melting our riser card so that we can get our GPU in. I could maybe hacksaw it. I'll have to see what tools we've got in here, actually. Maybe there is a slightly easier way of doing it, but I'll have a look. Well, it's safe to say that I don't think this is going to work anymore. It's been a good while since I've done any soldering. We've Managed to lose some capacitors or resistors in the process, and yeah. So I first tried with a saw on the left one, and then I realised it was just going over everything and smashing capacitors and bits off. And then I tried with a soldering iron, and now it looks like this thing has been through a fire. But well, I guess it's lucky we've got two of them. You never know, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. Let's do a test fit with the GPU, see if it goes in, and it does. There we go. However, look how raised it is at the back. It's not exactly flat, is it? Whilst I was doing this though, I did also clean the server out with a brush, so hopefully it should be a bit more cleaner apart from this. I'm actually just going to get that off. Right, I'm going to get this screwed back in on here. Fingers crossed that it works, and we'll get the GPU plugged in, and then it's actually about time that we test this thing out. Now, this one should be fine, but whether or not we actually see the GPU and whether it posts out through it at all is going to be a very big question mark. Okay, so a short period of time later, with some minor modifications from a hammer, I think we're actually ready to test this thing. We have the GPU installed in the riser there. You can see that the rest of it sticking out. I have put it in the best slot, the one that looks like it's least damaged. Got the other one in there. We've got all of our lovely memory in there, which I believe it's all secured in, ready to go. All we have to do now is fire this guy up. I've plugged the GPU into this monitor and the onboard onto that monitor as normal. So, power on. It's got a display. I think it can only support one display at a time. Onboard or external. Multiple informational things detected. I swear if our memory is bad. Oh no, dim population change. Is it going to tell us how much memory we've got? 2 processors installed. We have both of our X5650s there. That's looking pretty nice. Memory, we have 48 gigabytes. Excellent. I think that's a winner. Okay, almost time to put the drivers on. I'm just copying over Minecraft, as someone said to test that. Let's see if it's going to let us install them. Now, these drivers are actually beta drivers. They never released full Radeon Crimson drivers for this, and I believe the current ones are like Adrenaline or something. So hopefully these 2016 drivers work. If not, I guess I'll be downloading more drivers, but we'll see. I was going to say it's a good start so far, but the display drivers have installed alright. However, we appear to have, there we go, it's just kicked in. All of my servers are domain joined, so I can apply policies to them. And every now and then, if the network card isn't ready when the server comes on, well, you can't log in. Bit painful, but whatever. Okay, so let's just check we have everything. Right, so we have 48 gigs of memory, that's correct, all at 1333 megahertz. We've got 12. We have our 2 X5650s. And that's really everything we've done. AMD Radeon settings, let's have a look in there. That's looking good. Now, in theory, if I haven't completely destroyed the connector, we'd have an X8 link. If we've damaged it, we'll be on X4. And we are on... we are running at X8, awesome. So that means we haven't completely obliterated the connector. And we also don't have DirectX installed. So let's go and get that. There we go, look at that. And it is actually running at 30, 37, 38 degrees. Not bad. Okay, so we know our GPU is working, but that's not what we're fussed about. Let's run Fastmark again, because we have some better CPUs. Number of processors set in preferences is not optimal for your current system. Yep, correct it. I take it that's probably going to be putting more threads for the CPU test. Nice, I guess. Let's run. I'm going to let that run and we'll come back when it's done. Well, I'm going to be dead honest. I don't know what's happened there. So this is the rating we had before of 1140. Now, we've doubled our CPU mark there. The 2D mark has gone up by a little bit. We actually have a GPU mark score. And our memory is also looking a bit better, and the disk has stayed roughly the same. I'm not actually sure why that's dropped so much. But you know what? Who cares? Something must have gone wrong with that. Who knows? Right, let's have a look at CPU Z next. Let's run our quick bench against the E8400 on it. That felt a bit faster. I'm going to go to bench. We're going to select our reference as the Core 2 Duo, and wow, that multi-thread is already looking a lot better. We've got 3262.5, and the single core we have 242.5. So still not quite E8400 single core performance, but very, very close. Let's fire up good old Cinebench here. See what that can do for us. We all know what X5650 scores are going to be. It should be around 1200, if I remember right. Yep, X5650, 1209. Let's run that CPU. And you can already see it. It's a lot faster. And there we go, 1248. Bang on where we expect it to be. Save that score. Nice. Let's try Extreme. Did we miss the run button? We did. See, now that we actually have a full display resolution as well, we can actually see where it's beginning. And I think I'm going to let this one finish because there's a fair amount for it to do. And for Cinebench Extreme R15, we got 324, which compared to our E5620s of 192, or 194, sorry, we've actually done alright there. So that's not too bad. Now, I do remember someone in the comments asked, can you use this as a gaming PC to play Minecraft on it? So, well, let's have a look, I guess. Let's see if we can. And of course, it wants to download updates, so we'll let that do its thing. So, Minecraft with Optifine, we actually have 24 FPS, it reckons, in the top corner. And you know what, to be fair, I'd say this is playable. It's not exactly the world's best frame rate, but let's have a look in the video settings. So let's see if we can turn down a few of these. So let's drop our chunks to, say, 8. We have shaders off. Just going to set the graphics to fast. Switch smooth lighting off. That's really all we can do. You know what? 32 FPS. It might not be the best experience in the world, but that's certainly playable. Maybe if you had a better graphics card in this, it might run a bit better. but for me, I wouldn't have a problem playing this in the long run.
So for this test, I decided to fire up the Minecraft server instance and connected to it from my local PC. This was actually a friend's server, but I decided to clone it onto the £1 X3650 Model 3, and as we can see here, it does pretty well, absolutely no problems with it. Bear in mind there was only me connected, but in theory there's no reason why you couldn't easily hold 10 to 20, easily more I reckon, players on this. You just have to bear in mind that Minecraft is quite heavily single-threaded. It much prefers those higher clock speeds over multiple cores like what we've got here. But overall, I didn't see any problems with it. It ran absolutely fine. On to the next one, which is Space Engineers. So next up on the list of tests was Space Engineers. For this, I connected into the server remotely and had SteamCMD update the server instance of Space Engineers. Now, admittedly, it's actually been a very long time since I've played Space Engineers. The last time I played it was many years ago, back when it was in very early stages, and it ran really bad back then. It still seems to struggle on my PC now, even with it being a lot better, but maybe I just didn't have the right video settings. And since I didn't really know what I was doing, I couldn't properly test it. However, from the testing that I did do, just playing around in the map, breaking a few things, or trying to at least, it seemed absolutely fine. Obviously, if I did want to properly test it, I need more players. There was also another thing that kept occurring, was that Space Engineers wouldn't actually let me start it. It kept saying that I had to use experimental mode because the hardware wasn't supported. I'm not entirely sure what experimental mode changes, but by the sounds of things, it's recommended that you go with proper hardware that can work with this and not running experimental mode, which is understandable. So yeah, Space Engineers, overall, I'd say that's a yes. How far you get with it, well, that may vary.
The upgraded server, it's usable. I think certainly now, in terms of actually being able to use it for proper server tasks, this thing would be alright. Those two X5650s that we've put in have certainly bumped the performance of it, and we have no warnings on the front, so it's all happy, and that 48 gigs of RAM we have, pretty much perfect. You'll be able to get a good few virtual machines, a good maybe 6 or 7 of them if you're lucky. Yeah, I'd say that's really about it for this server. Yeah, what do you think we should do with it next? Or should we do anything with it next? I will likely move it into my 1366 cluster of other servers that also have X5650s, because this is probably the 4th or 5th one now. And obviously, yeah, we didn't plug that card in. I don't feel like there's any benefit to putting it in at the moment, unless I have a 10 gig cable with me, and we can't really test it either, so I might have to prepare that for another video. But yeah, overall, I'd say we've done all right. £1 for the initial server, and I'll throw how much we've spent on the all the new parts on the screen now. Yeah, not bad. And then on that note, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.